Now then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same tool, and I've got it up. You notice it's upside down, and I'm going to start right here on the center of the nose. I'm laying it kind of centered on the end of this nose, and what I'm going to do, let me get my mark back here again. We lost it. There's one of them. There's the other one. Because what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn it up as I come, and when I get right here, I'm going to go straight down to that mark. I'm not going to round down to it. I want it to be straight down to that mark. So just watch what I do here. Let me get my hand on it here. I'm going to push it straight down, and it's going to hit that mark, and I'm going to push it in. I'm not turning it up at this point, rounding in. I'm going to push it in. Now when you knock that chip off, you can see right here that I'm creating that nose. Okay, I'll come over here and do the same thing on this side. I'll start right up here. I'll kind of round down just a little bit, and then I'm going to go straight down to that mark and push it in. Alright, come straight down to that mark. Now then, very carefully, I'm going to come back and kind of take a little bit of wood out at a time. Back to there, back to where I just made that cut. And what this is doing, by the way, if you can look right here, you can see it. This is setting the nose into the face. Alright, now see, I'm going to have to come up here. You can see where that cut in there, and I'm going to have to come up here, and I'm going to have to take a little bit more of this out, and I'm going to have to come around, and what you're doing right here is you're exposing the end of this nose. Got to come up here a little bit more. Just very carefully removing some wood. Now, once you determine where the end of that nose is, I'll come right here and I will turn it up so that I can get me a good mark. You can see there, and that delineates, for me anyway, where the end of that nose is going to be. Come back to it very carefully, and then at this time I'll come down here and remove just a little bit more wood. Sometimes you can do it easier with a knife. Very carefully, and just kind of making a smooth transition down there. And here we go. And sometimes you may have to come back and work on that little jewel a little bit. Just take a little out like that. Sometimes I'll come back here, and I'm laying this, I'm going to kind of turn it that way so I can get that in. I'm going to come back here and take a little more wood out of here. A little more out of here. And what I'm doing now is I'm establishing that nose. And look at it there. Might have to. I'm just cleaning that up some. Alright. I'm going to get a little bit more right out of here. And just easing that up. Okay, now see what I did there? Can you see that a little better? Let me move some of these chips out of the way where you can see. Okay, we've established the nose. Here's the end of it. It will be more established in a little bit. Not going to do too much to it right now. I might come back and take one little chip, like so. And then I'm going to come over here on the other side, and I'm basically going to do the same thing. Got to take a little more wood out of here to expose the end of that nose. If you look at somebody's nose, you'll see that you can tell where the end of the nose is. Okay, look, make sure I got them pretty much the same on both sides. Maybe a little bit here. Alright, I'm going to come around here and ease that back into there. As Jeff Ferris says, smooth transition of form. Alright, I need to come in here and do a little bit more here. And now all I'm doing here is just kind of cleaning up things. Alright, and making that nose stand off the face. Okay, now, can you see that? There it is. Nose half on the face, half in the face. got a little bit, little there, and it come right here maybe. And all I'm doing now is making one side of the nose the same as the other side, which you probably need to do a little bit. Now notice I'm having a hard time getting in there, but that's okay. I'll get there. Alright, now there we go. Now, as you can see, here's my nose. Here's where the leaves are going to be. We're going to round this down a little bit more here in just a second. Probably going to take this down just a little more. I'm going to come in here, and all I'm doing is I'm taking off a little bit of this wood, and I'm just kind of rounding this up a little bit more, and that will make it easier for the next step when we actually start putting these leaves in here. I'm trying to bring this back into there and make that smooth transition of form. And we'll also, before we put the leaves in here in a minute, we're going to look at the profile, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do to that. If you'll notice right now, okay, we got a pretty good profile, but here's what I want you to see. Let me show you on this one. If you'll notice here, it kind of hard to see, but this kind of drops back to the nose, and then I put a little sweep to it here, and then up here it starts, the highest part's the forehead up here, then it sweeps and kind of comes back up here, and that's the same profile that I want to use on this. So we'll have to kind of set that up before we put our leaves on there. It'll make it easier if we do that. So I'm just going to take my knife, and I want a little dished out area up in here. I'll just kind of draw it in. We're just going to kind of come like this and come back up, and the same thing is true here. We're going to end up with a dished up area kind of like that. Now we probably won't do too much to that yet, because I may want to go ahead and put my leaves in there, but I want to round this down. I want to kind of smooth this up just a little bit and get me a little roundness in here. We'll have more roundness in a little bit when we cut this out. Okay, I think that's good enough. Alright, clean this all up as we go. And in a little bit we're going to be dropping this forehead back, so we'll actually be taking some of this out of here. In fact, let's see, do I want to do that now? No, not yet. Not yet. Let's see, do that, come back. Okay. Yeah, alright. I am going to take a little out of this. I'm going to turn him back around, and I'm going to kind of come in here, and I'm going to start putting a little bit of this little dished out area in here. Now I'm going against the grain, so that's not a good thing, but I'll come back here, and actually all this is coming down some, so that's not a problem. Okay, now I'm kind of rounding this a little bit, making that smooth transition. Now you're going to have to kind of come from both directions. Remember, anytime you're going uphill, you're going against the grain. Anytime you're going downhill, basically you're cutting with the grain of the wood. Alright, let me cut this right here. And I'm just kind of setting up before I want to do some of this contouring, I guess you could call it. Or basically it's setting the profile is what it is. But I want to do some of this before I draw these leaves on here. It'll make it a little bit easier, and it'll just work a whole lot better, believe me. Trust me. I'm a doctor. Not really. Little joke. Watch too much TV commercials. Okay. Okay. Notice I'm just taking little shavings. I'm not trying to take a whole lot of wood. Now I'll show you what I did there. Okay, see how I got that little deal in there? Now I hadn't really put it in here yet, but I think what I want to do is probably go ahead and lay this leaf out and this leaf out and put the mouth in, because this is all going to kind of drop back, and then we'll put that in there. Okay, so alright, let me kind of get my tracing again. Now remember, it's helpful And this will be another reason why you want to keep the center line in here, because it'll help you line up your tracing when you come back and trace it again, like we're fixing to do right now. Okay, now I'm going to lay this back on here. I'm going to line him up the best that I possibly can. Like right there. It's a little harder to hold now, but that's okay. And I'm going to hold him the best I can. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this back in here. Like so. Put that one back in there too. Like so. Kind of lay that back on there. Now you may have to do a little adjustment. May have to do a little adjustment. Actually, that didn't work too good. Okay, another thing you can do, and it's probably easier, is at this time go ahead and cut this area out. And I'm going to do that right now. Just going to take my knife. And why is because the nose is actually in the way for you to lay it back on there. But we can do this right here. Take my knife, cut that little jewel. And then you'll be able to lay it in there and get your leaves in. Okay. And now what you'll have to do here, I'm going to turn it over so I can see it a little better, is I want to come back around that leaf because we're going to draw that in here in just a minute. Alright. Something like that. Just get this out of the way. It's nice to have sharp knives, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay. I'm sorry about that. Now, here we go. Now I can go ahead and see I still got my center lines. I can go ahead and line that little jewel up. Although I need to turn it over because I see I had it backwards, which is okay. Now see how that fits right under the nose? There we go. And now I need to just move it and adjust it just a little bit till I get it back about to that line that we had. Alright, now it's going to be, you know, it's a little awkward to do this, but it works. Okay, see, I can kind of just follow that line of that, and I can put those lines, and when I get it off here, I'll adjust it a little bit probably. And there we go, kind of, sort of, maybe. Well, that's kind of terrible actually, but that's okay. And there, and there. It comes down, and it comes rounded. And then it's actually going to come back here like this, because that's where that leaf is. Alright. Maybe up a little more there. Up a little more there. Alright, now I just put that in there. There's that face. Now I also want to, at this time, go ahead and draw in these two leaves right here. Because, in fact, if you wanted to at this point, you could actually go ahead and draw them all. And I am not going to do that on camera because it takes too long and it bore you to tears. So I'm going to stop the camera and go off camera, and I'm going to go ahead and lay out all these leaves on here. And then when I come back, we'll start in on the next part.